So this feeling of waiting for something to happen, like, okay, when's this guy going to start talking? When's the meditation going to start? When does the movie start? When does the good stuff start? Right? That's one of these little kind of awkward feelings that we've encountered this kind of thing all our life, and we take it for granted usually that that kind of thing happens and that it's unpleasant. So that's the time to distract yourself, have another drink of water, light a cigarette, do something. But notice that as soon as we become aware of it, as soon as we shine the flashlight of clear attention on this, just this funky little feeling of waiting for things to start, that it starts to lose its power over you. People started to chuckle as soon as I pointed it out. Right? Oh yeah, it's this just funny little routine that I've been playing on myself. And when you realize you've been doing that, you realize, oh, I don't have to do that. Maybe it's fine for that the movie hasn't started and I don't have some way to distract myself. Right? If you have two people sitting on the bench at the bus stop, one of them is waiting for the bus, waiting, and the other one is just sitting. How can you tell the difference?
The posture.
How can you tell the difference? Anyone?
Their body language.
Their body language might well show that the person who's waiting is, looking, checking the schedule, looking at their watch, and the other person's just kind of sitting back, right? But even if it's not reflected in the body language, can you see the internal thing? The person who's waiting, when's this bus going to come? And the other one who's just sitting there. And then let's say the bus comes and then they decide they both get on it. Right? Did the one who was waiting, actively waiting, make the bus come any sooner? Right? You see the kind of thing I'm getting at?
I would say
yes.
Objectively, no, but subjectively, like the different states give us a different perception of time.
They can, yes, subjectively, and in fact, the classic subjective thing is, as the old saying goes, a watched pot never boils. The usual subjective thing is the more actively and agonizingly you wait, the longer things seem to take. So what if you just decide, okay, from now on, going forward, never wait. Always be. Instead of waiting for the bus, I'll just be here till the bus comes. Okay? You can feel that, right? I see people smiling. You can feel the liberative power of that insight. And now think, how many other things like that are there? How many other things can I apply that to? The waiting thing, and it's so habitual that, for instance, you're going to wait for me to get to the end of this sentence, right? And you feel that, come on, Slider, drop the shoe. Okay, now we're okay again. We're not okay until then. Can you see that? Just again, becoming aware of that and finding, okay, I can just and not wait for some external shoe to drop to give me permission to just be, to be okay. And it's a thing that it takes a little paying attention to, and then you realize, oh, it's not work to do that. It's work to hang on to this stuff all the time. Like being in a doctor's office or a dentist's office, back when we used to, be in the waiting room, right? Mm-hmm. So all the waiting rooms, by the way, now we can just, in your own mind, change it to the being room. Okay? So, yeah, change it to the being room. And in the waiting room, because people are waiting to see the dentist or they're waiting to see the doctor and get, the results of their MRI or whatever it is. And very often you'll see them leaning forward. You see them leaning forward in the chair. You'll see them sometimes clenching, balling up their hands, this kind of thing. And, you want to walk up to them and go, listen, darling, you could just relax your hand. Just sit back. Of course, you can't do that because then you get arrested or whatever. But in this way, we use other people as our negative gurus, right? We use other people. We see the way they are imposing suffering on themselves. This is all the Buddha's Four Noble Truths right there. When you see the person doing that, right? And that, you can relax that. That you're seeing right before your eyes, you're seeing suffering being generated. And we can't necessarily make them stop, but what we can do is gratefully accept the lesson. Thank you so much for going through that to remind me that I don't have to. Okay? Just saying, however that came about. Jonathan or Rick, did you want to say something about that? I see your hand is up. Yeah, Rick?
Oh, I was wondering when you brought up the topic about whether the waiting for meditation to start and these moments, if you're waiting for the elevator to come up or in a waiting room, if those count as bardos or if it's like not significant enough, if there's something, it's not the place between death and being reborn, obviously, but is that what we talk about as a bardo, as an opportunity for some kind of spiritual growth, or is there another name for those? Is it just an awkward moment?
The answer is yes and yes. It's an awkward moment, and that awkward moment is the bardo. Now, for those of you not familiar with that word, bardo, and it's not Bridget Bardot, perhaps unfortunately, it's bardo, B-A-R-D-O, and this is a Tibetan word that you'll see it sometimes translated as the between state or the intermediate state or even island. Okay, usually you'll hear it in the context of the in-between state that supposedly is between death and rebirth, and the famously the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which is a mistranslated title, by the way. But it's been we're kind of stuck with that title in English, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which is a guidebook in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition for when a person's body dies, for guiding them through the bardos. Actually, it's plural, the number of intermediate steps, supposedly on the anywhere up to 49 days before you're reborn. So the best, Rick, I think the best answer to your question is the one that I got from when someone asked something like this to Nakchung Rinpoche, this Lama that I used to study with. He said, everything's a bardo. Every moment is the bardo. Every moment is the moment between what came before and what comes next. And every moment we're dying out of the previous moment and being reborn into the next moment. Okay.
That's nice.
Yeah. I went, wow. Yeah. That's profound, because otherwise it's just some remote it's just some thoughts that we have about someday dying, someday being reborn, and that, okay, I'll be, and that'll be whatever you said, profound. That'll be spiritually important. Every moment is as spiritually important as every other moment. Everything is as spiritually important as every other thing. Otherwise, we're creating duality. We can't really create duality because reality is non-dual, but we can dig ourselves further into the illusion of duality, that existence is divided between, sacred stuff and just regular, boring, mundane stuff, between important moments and unimportant moments. Is that helpful? Yeah, good. Okay. All right. So, hi, Marie.
Hi.
And hi, Tejas. Good to see you. So let's mute some people. Let's sit comfortably. And let's not do anything in particular. Starting with, let's not close our eyes. I'm loosening up my body because I feel a little stiff. You might want to do that. But, you look to your left. You're aware of a bunch of stuff on your left. Look to your right. You're aware of a bunch of stuff on your right. Look up. You're aware of stuff up there. Look down. You're aware of stuff down there. The stuff you're aware of is different. What's the same? What's unchanging? You're aware. So please really notice that, not as just an idea, but a reality. See if there's a part where you're not aware. And see if in fact it's true that the awareness is unchanging. The stuff you're aware of changes. Because, okay, I'm looking at this, now I'm looking at that. I'm aware of these colors and shapes, I'm aware of those colors and shapes. I'm aware of these sounds coming through the window. I'm aware of these sounds coming out of Dean's mouth through my speakers or headphones. The words keep changing. The shapes and colors I'm seeing keep changing. But awareness remains the same. And maybe we think, no, my awareness changes because, my awareness was more fuzzy 5 minutes ago and it's more clear now, or my awareness was more settled and tranquil a little while ago, and now my awareness is more restless and anxious. Right? We could very well raise that objection. But now, if there's sometimes a feeling of being restless and anxious, and sometimes a feeling of being serene or tranquil, that's something you're aware of. You're aware of that feeling. You're aware of that feeling. You say, oh, my awareness is fuzziness. Oh, you're aware of fuzziness. So those are also objects of awareness. They're more subtle objects. Feelings and thoughts are more subtle than colors and sounds. But they're objects of awareness. They're phenomena. They're things we're aware of. Awareness, non-phenomenal. There's nothing we can pin down about it. It's not brightly colored or dark colored. It's not hot, it's not cold, it's not male, it's not female. But it's that by virtue of which we can be aware of all those phenomena that have all those qualities of hot, cold, bright, dark. And we're not speaking abstractly or theoretically. We're describing what we're experiencing, how we're experiencing right now. Okay? So just pointing that out. Is that computing for everyone? Is that anyone have any doubt about any of that we need to straighten out? Okay. All right. So let's change only one thing about our situation. Let's close our eyes. That's all. Don't meditate, whatever meditating means to you. Don't do anything special. All we're doing is we've just changed the position of our eyelids. Even to say close your eyes is really not accurate, because the eyes, we can only close the eyelids. The eyes themselves are still open. They still see stuff. They just see the subtle colors behind the eyelids, which also change and come and go. Sounds continue to come and go. Thoughts and feelings continue to come and go. All the shifting phenomena come and go within the scope, we could say, of our awareness. And it happens all by itself. So all these changing phenomena coming and going, within this non-phenomenal, non-changing awareness. And there's nothing we have to do about it. And there's nothing we can do about it. Is there a way you can change that situation? Nope. So we may as well just sit back and relax into it. There's no reason we have to. But as long as it's going on by itself, we may as well kick back, take it easy. Enjoy the show. Just resting as we already are. Just resting as non-changing, non-phenomenal awareness. Silent, invisible, intangible, with no top or bottom, no inside or outside. no time or space even. Even any sense that we might have of time or space is phenomenal, is happening within this non-phenomenal awareness. But there's nothing about this to figure out or believe or adopt or strategize. We are whatever we are. As far as I can see, we are non-phenomenal awareness. And we can always rest in that, because it's always right here, because it's us. So when we rest in this awareness, we rest as this awareness. It's like a flashlight kind of that's been, okay, shine on this thing, shine on that thing, shine on that thing. And now the light just rests within the light. The light just rests in its own luminosity. Doesn't have to work at shining on this and that. Just marinate in its own inherent luminosity. Anytime you notice that you've started to tighten up around something, an idea, a topic, a feeling, anything, physical sensation, it's fine for all that to be there. But if you find you're somehow tightening up around it, trying to push it away, or you're gripping it, just relax your grip. That's all. That's simple. Just relax your grip and relax back into this awareness, this I, this empty luminosity, this luminous emptiness, right here. Always, already, right here. And as always, take a few minutes to ease the body out before slowly opening the eyes. Okay, how's everyone doing? Everyone good? Good, good. Any questions or observations? Notes from the field? I do want to be very clear about this point that got raised here. That I was saying that if we say, oh, well, my awareness or my consciousness is now it's serene, now it's agitated, that the serenity or the agitation, the fuzziness or the clarity, they're things you're aware of. They're things you're conscious of. So they are not the awareness. They are not the consciousness. I'm using the words awareness and consciousness interchangeably. Anything you're aware of is not the awareness. And this is not just some little abstract point, academic point or something. This is really very close to the core of what this stuff's all about. One form of this, or one implication of this, is that enlightenment, awakening, realization, whatever you want to call it, it's not a mood. Okay? It's not just a mood. I think people often think of awakening, they think of enlightenment, and perhaps without ever really examining their thought, just kind of by default, they think of it as like just a perpetual, cheerful mood, or even just a perpetual serene feeling. And it's not any kind of mood. It's not any kind of feeling. That would be too superficial. Okay? It's true, it's certainly true, that as people spend more time, marinating in what we just did, just the light of awareness resting within itself, taking a break from the work, so to speak, of shining on all these objects. Objects may be there, but we're just not engaged with them. We're just resting within ourselves. The more, so meditation, for lack of a better word, the more we do that, and the more that gets integrated into our life, the more we awaken. It's certainly true that our moods tend to get better. Okay? It's certainly true that we tend to spend less time, I want to be clear about this, the tendency is to have less getting stuck in fear, anger, depression, all that, more access to being happy, being serene, and so forth. But that, we could say, is a byproduct. It's a side effect of the fact of the real thing. And the real thing is that we're becoming more and more awake within what we are, which is a non-phenomenal awareness, with no color, by the way, no race, no ethnicity, no gender, no zodiac sign, no, all these things that we usually think of as, oh, this is what makes me me. That's all stuff you're aware of, and it's changing stuff. It's people even change their genders these days. It's all stuff we're aware of. It's the phenomena. And so we become more and more awake to what we've always been, which is this non-phenomenal, silent, invisible, intangible, colorless, odorless, right? As Maharishi said, it's just nothing, but there's something very good about it. So, and the closest we could come, I would say, to ascribing a quality to it, but it has no quality, is the phrase I find myself keep coming back to. It's infinite okayness. Right? Can you hear that? Does that resonate for you? Infinite okayness. Because as long as we're caught up in the world, the phenomena, as long as we're caught up, and as long as we think of ourselves as a bundle of phenomena, which most people, without examining it, just do of course I am. I'm this maleness, I'm this, green shirtness, I'm this, this height and weight. As long as we think of ourselves as belonging to the world of phenomena, that's the world where everything changes, everything's shifting around, nothing's stable, nothing's reliable, everything dies. That, of course, we're subject to fear. I think most people are walking around all the time with, like, over there in the corner is this fear of death, this fear of annihilation, because they think they're a thing, and we notice once you get past a certain point in childhood, you notice that all things get created and then they break down. And the idea of annihilation is, something terrifying about it. So as we become awake, so we're not okay. We're not okay. And it has a million little, this not being infinitely okay has a million symptoms, such as the fact that, we were talking about this at the very beginning, we're waiting for something, whatever we're waiting for. And then now the lecture has started, now the movie started, now the election results are in, we can, okay, now I'm okay for now, till the next thing. And then, okay, now I'm okay. And then the next thing, right? We keep doing this. And by the way, Rick is gone now, but so Jonathan, you can pass this along to him. This is being born and dying. This is the bardo. Right? And what's interesting is, in the Buddhist framework and the Hindu framework, they talk about or whatever was the last desire you had in your awareness before you died, that supposedly that's how you punch the ticket for where you're reborn. And whether or not we buy that on the kind of literal physical level, that where most people think of that, to think of it just in the every moment, Bardo, it's obviously true. We're whatever we're feeling, everything, what's making things not okay, that's how we're punching the ticket into the next moment, into the next Bardo. So, getting back to the main thread here, which is as we become more and more awake to the innate infinite okayness of what we are. It's not that we become okay. That would be another okayness. That would be the ultimate okayness to wait for, which is what people tend to do with enlightenment. That's going to be the big okayness, right? But what we wake up to, we notice, oh, this is what I've always been. And the more clear that becomes, then the more it tends to be that our moods get straightened out, that our moods we become less tossed and stuff, and we tend to naturally be more tranquil and more. But that's not it. That's still not the defining thing. It's just a side effect, and it can look very different. And why is this? One reason that this is important is that if we think of enlightenment or awakening in this kind of superficial, cliched way, then when we're around people who are awake, and then we see them behaving in ways that don't conform to our cliched, stereotyped image of it, then it can be very confusing. Okay? You know, I often mention my old teacher, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who I spent a lot of years with, got millions of teachings from him. One of the very most profound teachings I ever got from him was the one time he shouted at me in a big room full of people. He shouted at me and told me I was stupid. And he was right. I had done something really stupid and I needed to be shouted at. Preferably someone that it would really just shake the shit out of me to be shouted at by that person. That's exactly what I got. Right? So to think that, there may very well have been people in the room that would, oh my God, Maharishi got angry, and does that mean he's not enlightened? Does it means, the definition when people would ask him, what is the behavior of an enlightened person like? And he wouldn't say, oh, they're always really tranquil, or oh, they're really happy, or they act in this kind of virtuous way. But all that stuff could be there. But again, that's just tendencies, statistical tendencies. It's side effects. But what he said was the enlightened person, their actions fulfill the need of the time. They fulfill the need of the time. And if the need of the time is for some doofus to get shouted at, then that's going to happen. That's what's going to come through them. Is this resonating for you all? Is this any questions about any of this? Good. Now there's another reason it's important, and probably
Go like this.
Yeah. What? Hello. Yeah, Louisa.
No, it doesn't matter.
Or who's talking? Yeah. Louisa, are you trying to make a comment, Louisa?
Just don't get your.
Okay, I'm going to mute her. I think that was an accident. Okay, so there's a second reason why having this point of being straight on this point of understanding, I think, is important, and even a more profound reason. And that is, if we have this set idea of what enlightenment is like, and involves a perpetually cheerful, have a nice day, cheerful mood, or perpetually tranquil affect, whatever it is. Then we're going to keep seeing ourself not measuring up to that. And that is going to keep us from recognizing our own awakening. We're going to keep looking for, and I know we all have a tendency to do this. I know I do. I go, I was grouchy this morning. Yeah, that's a metabolic thing. The body wakes up. It slept like this. It's gonna have some grouch. Getting grouchy it's like the body is going to get hungry. The body's going to get cold and get warm. Right? These are phenomena. So being awakening, enlightenment, doesn't mean that, okay, now your phenomena are going to manifest in just one way. It means you're established in the non-phenomenal. And you're seeing all the changing phenomena from the point of view of what you are, which is non-phenomenal awareness. There goes grouchiness. There goes happiness. They're all part of the puppet show, the Punch and Judy. There's a tendency to have, more Judy and less Punch. More happy, less grouchy. But that's just a tendency, and that's not it. The really important thing, the real thing is back. Not this, but this. The thing that's the witness of both of those. And you'll often see this term in a lot of spiritual literature, the witness. That enlightenment is about witnessing all the passing phenomena. That also gets misunderstood because people will often think that means to be detached. In a sense, it is, and you'll see that word detachment. But people think, that means, if I get angry about this thing, or if I get too happy about this thing, then I'm being unenlightened. So what they wind up doing is trying to flatten their emotions, and they call that detachment. That's not it. Detachment or witnessing, you're witnessing everything, including the emotions. Okay? You're just awake to what you are. And that's the other thing, and we hear this over and over, that it's not a matter of becoming enlightened. It's a matter of, and you'll hear particularly in some of the Buddhist literature, they're very good about being precise about this. They'll say, realizing your innate enlightenment. Realizing your innate enlightenment. And no one believes this when they read it, when they hear it, right? And they even though it comes from like the highest authority, even though, the great moment, the great epiphany in the Buddhist tradition is the Buddha, after 49 days of sitting under the tree, getting until he's fully cooked. And what does he say? What is his commentary, his description? What has he realized? This is it. Here's the crown jewel. Here's the grail. What did he get? How wonderful, how wonderful. All things are enlightened just as they are. Not just all people, all things, which presumably includes, rocks and armadillos and blades of grass and so forth. Okay, that's in the advanced course, figuring out how rocks and grass are enlightened. But let's just go with people. Here's the Buddha saying, you're enlightened, you just didn't realize it. You're enlightened just as you are. You don't become enlightened. You realize your innate enlightenment. Okay? And people hear that, I know, they go, it just sounds impossible. And in a sense, we could say what he realized was the whole business of his sitting for 49 days under the tree and all the years out in the forest doing the practice, leaving home, that all of that in a sense, in principle, On the absolute level, we could say was completely unnecessary. What he realized was, I've been here all along. You know, it's like Dorothy trying so hard to get back home, and then she wakes up and she realizes, oh, I've been in Kansas all along. There's no place like home, Auntie Em. There's no place but home. Okay? But you got to go through Oz to realize it. That's the paradox. You got to go through Oz to realize you were always in Kansas. The Buddha had to go through whatever practice he had to go. He had to sit under the tree to realize, this is what I've been all along. How did I not notice that? And you get that over and over in the spiritual literature and all the traditions. Just, oh, how did I miss it? How does everyone else miss it? In a way, it's so tragic. All these people walking around suffering because it's so unnecessary. They don't realize that their boundless enlightenment, non-phenomenal, which is completely not all these phenomena where suffering, non-okayness happens. That word suffering is a big word. Maybe we should just say non-okayness. I think maybe that's more precise to our experience. You hearing this? Good. Good. Any questions? Anyone have any objections? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Why this man and this woman, why this so-called individual and this enlightenment should not be wed in the realization that they were non-dual all along. Speak now. Okay, I got a question for you. In the newsletter I sent out Tuesday morning, I recommended, I provided a link, and I recommended people go to Rupert Spira's meditation on George Floyd and Derek Chauvin. And I promise it won't go in your permanent record for not doing your homework. But if anyone who did do that, I'd be interested in hearing from you. Did anyone do that?
I did. Philomena.
Yeah, Philomena. Hi, Philomena.
Juan and I did it together, and we were both impressed.
Uh-huh.
Quite an experience. And I understand when you said he's such a good teacher. Not that you aren't a wonderful teacher as well. I'm
Yeah.
not doing that. I'm just saying that it was an experience.
Yeah. No, you're right. He's top of the line. He really is. He's you know, my joke is when you look up the word clarity in the dictionary, there's a picture of Rupert there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
It was a wonderful experience. Thank you so much for sending the link. When you gave us the numbers, I wrote them down and I meant to get to it. But when you sent the link, you know, it's
Right.
oh, I didn't even have to look and find the numbers. Thank you.
Yeah. Just click on the link. We try to make this stuff easy.
And then I needed the lazy guys. And it
Yeah.
was-
Yeah. Right. Yeah. We all do. Yeah. So Rupert has this just incredible clarity. You know, in my experience, any teacher, any teaching that you deal with, there's a certain amount of like, okay, here's the real stuff. Here's the core stuff that I came from. And then there's the peripheral stuff. There's the baggage that comes along with it. You know, sometimes there's cultural baggage. There's sometimes, you know, I know for some people probably, yeah, Slider's got all these graven images on his thing there. Is that really, am I okay with that? You know, I like them. But yeah, that's in a sense that's baggage. Or there's always the teacher's personality. There's, if there's an organization, then there's always whatever is the mishigas of the organization. And I kind of think of it in terms of like there's a ratio. There's always a certain amount of ratio of good, clear essence, the juice that you get from the teacher or the teaching, and then all the stuff that comes along with it. And you always want that ratio to be as high as possible, right? If the ratio gets too low, then that's when you start going, maybe it doesn't make sense for me to hang around here.
Well, but you make us happy because of your sense of humor.
Yeah, yeah, no,
It doesn't have that.
yeah, and as a matter of fact, with all of my teachers, I've always reached a point sooner or later where I'll be sitting on retreat with them where I'm just, being with them for, and it's been a week or a month or something. And there's a point where I just start feeling deeply ashamed. I go, oh my God, this is what a real teacher looks like. And how the hell have I ever had the unmitigated gall, the chutzpah, to sit in front of a room or in front of a camera or something and pretend to know anything about awakening. And so what happens sooner or later is I generally wind up going to the teacher and saying, listen, I'm ready to pack it in. I'm when I get home, there's these workshops I'm supposed to teach. I've got a contract for the next book I'm supposed to, just say the word, I'll lay it at your feet. I'll throw it all into the fire. You do it. And what's happened is, and this literally has happened at least 3 times, is that they've said to me, no, you bring a particular thing. It's good. Keep doing what you're doing. So.
Oh, absolutely. I think the lightness you bring is really important because especially doing this weekly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to go and do your thing once a year for a week.
Right.
But I don't know, that might be a little tough on
Yeah. 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 Just by the way, everyone, if you can, go on retreats with a good teacher, someone you really have confidence in. And, I've got a couple of people I can recommend these days, Rupert and Adyashanti. That's about it right now. At the moment. Say it again.
Does he come over here or do we have to go to him?
No, Rupert, I mean, when there's not
Yes.
virus raging, Rupert's been coming to the U.S. Twice a year and teaching on the East Coast and the West Coast.
Huh.
And usually it's a week or is it 7 days or 5 days, something like that. So, I'd say, go to his website and he'll always list his schedule there. And the other one who I just unreservedly would recommend is Adyashanti, who's an American. He's a guy named Steve. He uses the spiritual name Adyashanti, who's also just tip top. But yeah, but they each have, but it's good to also, I think, and this is a thing I learned from this other Lama, this Canadian Lama, because I used to have this thing, and you'll read it a lot in the literature. Oh, you got to have one teacher, one guru, one, and that's it, and don't go around to a bunch of teachers and so forth. And what this Canadian Lama said to me when I asked him about it was, no, it's really good to hear the teachings from at least a couple of teachers, because that way you'll always hear it a little bit differently.
Oh, I totally agree with this. From being in Tai Chi for so many years, I would have a master and then we would do workshops, and the workshops were always such a gift because of a different point of view.
Right. A different voice, hearing it coming through a different voice, and the way this Lama said it to me. He said, when you're getting it from two different points of view, he says that gives you bifocal vision, or rather, that gives you depth perception. You know, it's like looking through two eyes instead of one. It gives you depth perception, and he said, then you don't bump into stuff as much. Right. And also that way it becomes clearer what's the real stuff, what's the juice, what's the light, and what's just the teacher's personality.
And we always want to be students.
Yeah.
I don't think you can ever know too much.
Ah, right. Yeah. And also sometimes just, you know, it might be that a particular teacher keeps saying something in a particular way and you're not quite getting it. You may not even realize you're not quite getting it. It might work perfectly for someone else. But then you hear the other teacher say it in some slightly different way and you go, oh, that's what the first guy has been trying to tell me all along.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's good.
So thank you.
You bet. Anyway, so onto the substance, a little bit of that video teaching from Rupert, the meditation on George Floyd and Derek Chauvin.
I would
yeah.
never have put it together the way he did. Never. So yes, it was a total vision.
Yeah.
You know, just looking at it. Well, of course, once he got into it, of course, yes, of course.
Of course. Yeah. Maybe Philomena, maybe we won't say too much more about the substance, so it won't be too much of a spoiler for the other people who are going to go watch the movie. No, you're fine. But Philomena, can you see, having done that exercise with regard to those two people whom we may have who we've probably, you know, felt very differently about, can you then see what the wider application of it is?
Yes.
Yeah. How, you know, because it's just finding that core of beingness, that you know, what I am, what as long, getting back to what we were saying earlier, as long as we think of ourselves as being just a composite of a bunch of phenomena, then everyone else is phenomena. And then we're judging people based on our evaluation of those phenomena. I like the phenomena of, it's like, you know, I think I'm a wave, and I think you're a wave, and I think he's a wave, and I think she's a wave. I like the shape of this wave. This shape of this wave is really kind of ugly. This wave is really mean and nasty and so forth. We're judging the stuff on the basis of their waveforms because that's all we see. That's all we know. We think that's what they are, and we think that's what we are. And you know, there's this line in the Bible, judge not lest ye be judged, which is very, very shrewd psychologically. Because as long as we're judging other people, what we're doing is we are establishing, every time you judge other people like that, and not evaluate, you know, you have to do that all the time when you're, when you're driving, you know, oh, this hotshot in the Mustang, he's going to be right off the line when the thing turns green. I'm going to keep my distance from him, right? You know, and we apply that to everything, you know, in career, in business stuff and family stuff. That's just common sense. Oh, this person's touchy. If you bring up this subject, I should stay away from that subject. That's just common sense. That's evaluating, we can say. Judging is something else. Judging is like, this one is good. This one is bad. This one is worthy. This one is not worthy. That's a different thing.
Because they have a different opinion than we do, they obviously have a problem.
Yeah. And by the way, speaking of being on retreat, the classic thing everyone who's been, because very often these retreats, not always, but very often they're held in silence. You don't talk outside of asking questions in the meetings. Rupert's usually are not held in silence, but most of them are. And the classic thing is sitting at the meal, and you're 5 days into the retreat, and you just, there's no one you're not talking with anyone. You're just sitting there, eating your cornbread and your soup or whatever it is, and you're looking around, judging everyone in the mess hall. Oh, this one is clearly so arrogant. This one's pretty cool. This one is lame, just totally not get. This one's hopeless, never going to get it. And then what's great is usually the last day of the retreat, you come out of silence and meet these people, and invariably you find out you were totally wrong about everyone. So that's really instructive. That's really good to find out that just because you're having those thoughts and they feel really right doesn't mean they have anything to do with reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we think we're great judges of character,
Yes.
but we do need a little more than how people look.
Right. But even in the normal situation where we get the more that, we get how they speak and how they behave and all that, the ultimate, the moral judgment that we're, okay, you, heaven for you, hell for you. All right. That thing. Right. So the line from the Bible, judge not lest ye be judged. Every time we do that, when we're judging people, when we are saying this is what that person is, not this is how that person speaks, this is not how that person behaves, because those things are all products of all that person's conditioning, all the phenomena whereby this person manifests are the results of all these chains of cause and effect, of all these other phenomena going back to what they had for breakfast this morning, back to how they were raised by their parents, back to culture, back, yada, 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 back to the Big Bang. All these just almost infinitely complex chains of cause and effect that make us the way we manifest in the world of phenomena. But that's not what we are. But as long as we're identifying other people as that's what they are this wave. This one is this wave. This is a good wave. This is a bad wave. We're creating for ourselves in our mind a world where you are the phenomena that you express as, and you're judged on that basis. And then that means that we're judged on that basis. And that means that internally we're always trying to measure up. And we're feeling, once again, not okay. So to me, that's the shrewd psychology of judge not lest ye be judged.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the way that people try to fix that, as is often the case in the world of spiritual practice, is they try to do it superficially. Oh, I got to stop judging that person. I have to repress that. I've got to push it down. No, that's wrong. And they start judging themselves for judging other people. And, there's no end to the tying yourself into knots. The non-superficial cure is settle down into what you actually are, which is the ocean underlying all the waves.
Essence.
Which is not phenomena, and which has no characteristics. And, we're doing that all the time in our meditation, settling down into that ocean. And then and sooner or later, as more and more we come back into the world of phenomenal waves, but still with some sense of our oceanic essence, our oceanic beingness, some sense of that sticking with us, and that gets stronger and stronger. And when it's all the way strong, when it's at 100%, that's enlightenment, that's awakening. So we're all in this process of gradually coming into that all the time. Sometimes suddenly, mostly gradually. And at some point, as we're getting more and more realizing that, oh, and not just, of course, intellectually, but realizing experientially, oh, I'm not just this wave, I'm the ocean, we start to get some sense that, oh, all these other waves, they must be the ocean too. Right? But Philomena, can you see that what Rupert's doing in that exercise is he's accelerating that process of experientially getting that the other people, the other waves are also the ocean. He's going directly to that instead of getting there kind of indirectly, which is our usual thing.
Oh, yes, I got it. I just don't know if I can hold it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's why you go back and practice more. You know, go back to that video again. And for that matter, you know, if you find yourself attracted to the way Rupert teaches, he's got a lot of free teachings on his website and in his books that are they're kind of in the same vein from different angles. So it's not that we're doing, and in fact, that thing is mislabeled on YouTube. It says meditation for George Floyd, which is a terrible disservice because first of all, right there's the judgment, hey, what happened to Derek? And secondly, we're meditating for someone, like we're praying for, and it's not, it's meditating on George and Derek. It's a completely different thing. And it's finding out what they are and that it's the same thing that we are. And that strengthens our own awareness of what we are. The more we're aware that all the others are, somehow that helps enliven our awareness that that's what we are. It helps to break down our false world picture that it's just a world of disconnected waves. And as Rupert always points out, that realization of a world of non-separateness, that of a world that is not a bunch of just separate autonomous waves, but just, you know, one ocean expressing as all these waves that are all the same ocean. That's what's called love. That, you know, that the truest, deepest sense of love is not just some emotion. That's superficial in the sense, you know, like the superficial idea of enlightenment as just, you know, cheerful, happy mood all the time.
The tricky part is that we use love for the romantic as well.
Yes.
And then the understanding of the love that he's discussing, you're discussing, is so much broader.
Yeah, so much broader and deeper, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but you know, it is interesting that we also call the romantic thing, you know, that kind of emotional excitement. We call that love as well, because that's not wrong, and certainly there's nothing bad about that. And that, because what that really is it's a subset of that bigger thing. You know, that as long as you think of yourself as a wave, as just this little, you know, circumscribed individual thing, and then you meet a person who, because of the way he or she looks and the way he or she acts, I remember once asking my mom about, you know, why did she wind up marrying my dad? They met on a blind double date, and they were not each other's dates. But I said, well, what was it? And they went bowling, by the way, in Brooklyn. And I asked her, what was it about him that you know, caught your attention? And she said he had this impish sense of humor that he wasn't like anyone else that I'd met.
I'm with her. Go for the sense of humor.
Yeah, right. But what we're really going for is what we actually are and what everything else actually is, which is that boundless, infinite okayness, which is getting the freedom from being stuck in our little apparent boundaries. And when you meet the person, a person who their sense of humor makes you relax and laugh, and it feels expansive, right?
That's a wonderful way of saying it. It makes you not just happy but relax.
Yes.
And yeah.
Yeah. And some people, it may manifest more in terms of, when someone, and as a mature person who's, had some experience of the world and relationships, if someone asks you, well, gee, I'm with this person, what do you think? And if they say, gee, I really like the way he looks, you go, or, gee, I really like the car he drives, and even if they say, gee, I just really think he's got this attractive personality, but if they say, I just feel relaxed around him, right? Don't we kind of intuitively know, yeah, that sounds promising.
Feels like home.
Yeah, like home, exactly. And that's what we're all trying to do. We're trying to come home, which is home is the ocean. Home is ourself. And what we call romantic love is recognizing some quality of that home in the other person, or some quality in that other person that allows us to relax back into our self and find a little, relax back into that a little bit more, or even, in the sexual aspect of it, what happens in orgasm is there's like an explosion out of the sense of being just stuck. It's a moment of transcendence.
Mm-hmm.
But, but then you find out you can't do that 24 hours a day.
Darn.
Right, right. But this we can do 24 hours a day. This actually is what we are 24 hours a day, and we can become more and more awake to it, more clearly awake to it. So that's good. Philip, namaste.
All right.
See you later.
Shall
Okay.
we?
So anything else? Anyone else? Yeah. And part of what's lovely about this particular understanding, these aspects we've been exploring today, is, most of us here, a certain amount of, maturity of years. So, maybe we've been in this personal relationship, romantic relationship, or marital relationship, or that one. This one worked out nicely. This one maybe worked out not so nicely. This one was, the 3 good things in column A, but the 2 things in column B were not so great. Whatever, all those possible combinations. To know that, yeah, everything about that was fine is fine. Everything about that was lovely is lovely. But it's all pointing, as things happen in life, everything in life is impermanent. Stuff goes away. And sometimes, the relationship breaks up, people die, people, certain of their personal phenomenal characteristics were one way when you married them, or they thought they were one way when you married them, and then it turned out to be otherwise, or a change or something. And, a lot of people have a lot of sadness around that. It's like, oh, there was this precious thing. I had it for that brief shining moment, and now it's gone. And some people, they feel, oh, other people got that, and I never got it in my life. And I mean, you probably know people, I certainly do, who just walk around with this deep sadness because they feel they never got it in this life. They missed the brass ring on that. So to realize that to whatever extent you tasted that, that wonderful opening through relationship, or imagined it, or imagined some version of it from watching movies or whatever it was, that's the hinting at this bigger thing that is always there, is always accessible to us. That the self is always there. As the bumper sticker you've probably seen says, God never lets you down. Okay? So, may all beings swiftly realize their incredible good fortune that they are deep in the midst of the romance beyond anything they ever dreamed of, that is never ending. The one happiness, our oceanic beingness. And thus may all distress, all sadness, all conflict just evaporate like the dream of Oz when we wake up to realize we've been in Kansas all along. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
See you around. See you around. Have fun. Enjoy.
Yes, in the first episode.